Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time, they talk down to us, they think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter, but I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing, as we are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we all are excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Watching a clip of First Things First, talking about the whole Mahomes mountain and, Nick's postseason QB tiers. We already know he's going to put Patrick Mahomes at the top, and it's not a bad argument, better than the arguments before in the previous weeks, but definitely he's not at the top. It should be Lamar Jackson. It should be, before I even see this, but it's to me, it's pretty obvious. It's Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy. That's who it should be. My guess is he's going to have Mahomes, Lamar, Goff, Purdy.
Look at what the mountain looked like before Wild Card Weekend. There were the 14 quarterbacks that made it, and then show us who was eliminated. And what you will see is a lot of guys near the bottom, and then the entirety of level 2. Then we see the divisional round weekend mountain, and you will see who was there, and then show us who was eliminated. And once again, the entire...
And also, in my previous video, I was talking about how he had no faith in Lamar, and now he's acting like Lamar is all good. He literally has Stroud above Lamar, and we know that he doesn't respect Allen either, and yet he has Allen ahead of Lamar. So, just absurd. Just kind of proved his mountain has been consistently wrong all season.
Entirety of level 2, which is ominous for whomever
Baker above
makes
Goff.
level 2 this week. Only
Absurd.
4 quarterbacks left. Show us the bottom row. Brock Purdy. Now, much like Kyle Shanahan in the fourth quarter, I considered putting Sam Darnold there. However, Brock Purdy remains, and he actually moves up. And, much to Brew's delight, I would imagine, avoids the dreaded level 2. On level 2, Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson. Now, all Lamar did was throw for 150, run for 100, 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and played a nearly perfect second half after the fateful pass early in that second half. What Goff did was not get pressured and deal. He did a wonderful job against Tampa Bay and has continued to show this postseason, if you can't get pressure on him, he is going to carve you up. Now he is going to have to go outdoors, where he has not played nearly as well this season, but we shall see. And then, of course, atop the mountain is none other than, of course, Patrick Mahomes. 9 yards per play until the kneel downs. Once again, second straight near flawless postseason performance for the Mountain's namesake. And that is the abbreviated Conference Championship Mountain. Greg Jennings.
Oh, yeah. Not shocked. This is obviously 4 guys. Patrick Mahomes will be on top, but I would like to contest that and say that Lamar Jackson should probably remain and be on top. And the reason why I said remain is because going into Week 18, Lamar Jackson was the top of the list, and then obviously, the playoffs went, and you had to shuffle it up and get Patrick Mahomes back on top of the mountain. But if you can show the audience, please, guys, the divisional round, Lamar Jackson is like 4th on this list right here. And this is predicated based upon, and I'm assuming this, how well C.J. Stroud performed in that wild card round, Josh Allen, and all the others, correct?
Postseason resume.
Postseason resume. It was based on what they did in those games.
Well, no, you're
it was
saying
based
that.
on what.
No,
this is why these guys
of the
move.
Postseason resume.
And so when I look at that,
C.J. Stroud, it was.
And you talked a little bit about what Lamar Jackson was able to do in his first playoff game, and he, in my opinion, looking at this, he was penalized because he was so good in the regular season. You know what, guys? Let's get a bye. Well, everybody wanted, you get a bye. And then he came off in the division round, and he does this. If you compare it to Patrick Mahomes, you said he had pretty much a flawless game. Well, can we see the numbers in side by side? Look at that. In 2 games.
let's look at this. Wow. And you know what I always say that I don't like to just look at numbers and say, this number is bigger than that number, therefore they're better. But these numbers are pretty damning, right? I don't like when it's like 121 to 119, like those things are a little. But again, here's one game. And again, you can make the argument and say the Texans aren't as good as the Dolphins or the Bills. But, I reject that, quite honestly. And I know Nick rejects that as well because he had the Texans beating the Ravens. Okay, he talked about the Dolphins not being a good team, and he talked about the Bills not being a good team, except for when Patrick Mahomes beat them. Then suddenly they became great teams. So again, that's the constant inconsistency in Nick Wright, which if you've been watching this channel, I point out all the time and will not let him get away with it. And that's why I'm happy that Greg Jennings. I was talking to someone in the comments just yesterday about this, and he was saying that he doesn't like Greg Jennings, and I was saying I actually like him. I don't mind him, but I do get what he was saying about how he doesn't give this like amazing analyst, and so shout out to you, O'Shea. And so this is the kind of moments, like, he is the only one, him and Mangini are really the only ones that like actually truly push back on Nick. Like Brew does occasionally, but it's like a lot more like, come on Nick, no, but what about this? Like, Greg is definitely like, whoa. Like, just settle down here and let me explain to you. So I appreciate that. And again, I mean, when you look at this, Lamar Jackson clearly has played better than Patrick Mahomes. And again, Patrick Mahomes did this against two decimated defenses. There's no argument there. So Lamar Jackson absolutely should be at the top. Patrick Mahomes should be number 2. Or if you want to put them at the same top, I know you can't because there's only one spot at the top, but theoretically you could put them side by side if you really want. But Patrick Mahomes, if you didn't know anything about Patrick Mahomes and we just watched the collection of the games that were played this year, you would of this whole season and of the playoffs, you would say Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. I don't necessarily believe that in the whole grand scheme of things, but I'm just saying if we were just looking at this season and these playoffs, you would just, if you didn't know anything about anyone and you just saw these players play, you would say Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback. You would say, look what he does. Look how he throws. His team is number 1. He's got better stats. He rushes. He does all this type of stuff. You would say, oh my God, Lamar Jackson's a magician. And you would say Patrick Mahomes is really, really good and has really awesome moments, but I don't know. It seems a little inconsistent at times this season. So
games for Patrick Mahomes. 62 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 100 passer rating, 60 yards per rush. Look at this, man. 0 touchdowns when he's running the ball. But when you look at this one game, you look at the completion percentage, 72%. 2 passing touchdowns in the air, 2 rushing touchdowns, 121 passer rating, and that's in one game. And you telling me he's not atop the mountain?
Well, I would just ask Greg Jennings this question because I don't know who you're picking this weekend, Chiefs or Ravens. But
I don't know who you're picking either.
Well, I have ran the all-22. Okay. But I mean, I would be surprised if I went off my preseason pick. But you, luckily, all your preseason picks are so long dead and gone. You are a big free agent, so you are able to just analyze the game and do whatever you want. You feel like Baltimore's got the edge at quarterback this weekend?
I really like Baltimore.
Okay, you really like Baltimore right
boy,
now. Okay, I didn't. But you feel like they have the edge at quarterback this week?
Really like Baltimore.
Okay,
right
that's
now.
fine.
Based on what I just showed you, can we please? We don't have time. When you saw the stats,
I saw the stats.
He was much better than Patrick Mahomes. In one game versus 2 games.
I disagree, but that's, you know what? I think you made a strong argument, and I'm excited that you're picking the Ravens because I think you picked against the Chiefs every single round.
Did I say I was picking?
Go ahead. It seems like you're.
I'm not going to argue that Brock Purdy should be on the top of the mountain.
Oh my God.
But to put him behind vacant.
He's not behind vacant.
Look, I know, I told you I have a leak. There's a leak in your group.
Bro, you have to
say it's not a committee, but it is. There's at least a few of y'all.
There instead of on the side.
You got to move, at the very least, move Purdy over to the left. That's disrespectful to put him behind vacant.
Show the graphic of Vacant versus Purdy. Vacant didn't throw any balls to the Packers, though, for the record.
Vacant is ridiculous.
Bro, do you think
I think it's disrespectful. I mean, look, if you want to argue Goff, fine. Goff's bigger and all that stuff, fine. But Brock Purdy, here's a graphic.
So you're really
Here's a
arguing
graphic.
him against Bacon?
Yeah, I'm saying it's disrespected. We don't have the graphic. All right, Baker Mayfield is 5th.
We didn't
Not
make
Baker, I'm
Bacon.
sorry. Brock Purdy.
This is going off the rails right here. 101, best passer rating in playoff history, 106. Kurt Warner, Matthew Stafford, 101.7. If Purdy met required minimums, but he didn't.
Is 5th all time in playoff passer rating, 101. Now, he doesn't qualify because he's only played
can't be serious.
4 games or parts of 4 games. But he would be 4th in playoff passer rating.
This is Dusty. No way Josh did that.
Hold
That's
on.
Dusty or Josh?
We always talk about what are you doing in the postseason.
Good point.
And now y'all looking at me sideways.
Because we saw the game and you said he didn't play well.
It's fine. But he still gave what you wanted to see. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say he played well beginning of the game. But it is being overstated how poorly he played.
It is?
No, it's not. It's not.
I mean, he did throw that touchdown pass to George Kittle.
Okay, great. He threw some passes. He's a quarterback. I should have hoped so. He's more than capable of. These segments sometimes make me look like I'm a Purdy hater, and I don't want to have to keep telling you that I think that Purdy is indeed a good quarterback and not a trash quarterback, and I think he's better than Nick Wright says. But again, Purdy got so lucky to win that game. He would have been the sole reason why the 49ers lost that game. No question. If the Packers were able to actually, pick off those passes that should have been 2 guaranteed interceptions, a third very likely, and one of them being an absolute pick 6 would have obviously completely changed that game. Obviously. So this idea that Purdy, based off of that performance, should go up, because listen, he showed his rating and showed, how high it is. Purdy's rating could have only gone down after that game. His stats could have only gone down after the game against the Packers. So how are you going to say that Purdy should be elevated? And Goff has now been there. He's been to the playoffs and won multiple playoff games with multiple teams. That's a big deal. With multiple coaches, multiple players, imperfect circumstances. He lost to Tom Brady again, the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So Goff has proven himself to be up there. And it would be disrespectful to Goff to have Purdy up there because Purdy hasn't done enough. And again, Purdy has elite weapons that he was technically bringing down on Saturday. He was bringing them down. They were pulling him up. To use that example, the analogy that they talk about in basketball, oh God, whatever his name is, I can't think of it right now. Charles Barkley talks about you're either the bus driver or, you're being pulled by, on the bus or a passenger or whatever. Purdy, that game against the Packers, was not the bus driver. He just wasn't. Okay, great. He had a great final drive. Guys, the game is more than just that. And not to mention, the Packers missed a field goal to tie it up. Like, it would have been tied. The game would have been different. Not to mention all those missed interceptions that I've already said.
He had 4 passes dropped, all right? And then, of course, he led the game-winning drive. So
and 3 dropped by the interception.
When you say 4 passes
Dropped
dropped,
defense.
Last time
dropped by the Packers.
2 touchdowns.
No, 4 passes dropped by the
6,
Niners.
because 2 dropped
All
by the
right,
Packers.
since we always count what ifs, 4 passes dropped by
No, we only count what ifs for Brock Purdy. What if?
And then also, if we're counting those drops, then what about the passes that were bad that were still caught? Like by Ayuk, who did the one pass where all his momentum was going forward one way, and he had to reach behind and low. I think it was Olsen. Was Olsen doing that game? I'm not sure. I forget who it was, or Aikman. But they were just like, that catch, I can't tell you how impressive that catch was and just how difficult it was. Because it was incredibly difficult. So that easily could have been a drop or a bad throw. So again, you can't just point and just you have to actually look at everything as a whole, and you have to actually watch the gameplay. You can't just say, well, there was 4 drop passes here and this and that, so you could just technically add those 4 completions to him, and that's not the way it works.
If there was a third team All-Pro,
all you want to do is talk about what he hasn't done, and I'm saying what he has done is led this team to the conference championship.
Yeah,
and
like
when he plays well, you don't give him credit. You only talk about it when he plays poorly.
No, we talk about him more than we talk about any other mediocre player in the league.
You don't give him credit when he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns against a playoff team.
No,
You
just
say,
don't
I want to see him
No.
play badly and come back.
No.
And then he plays badly and comes back, and now you got something else you
what
want.
I won't do, it's not that I don't want to give him credit. I don't
It
want to
is.
make him league MVP like you did. That was the argument.
Why couldn't he be league MVP?
Because he's not that good.
Rich Gannon wasn't that good.
Oh my God.
Boomer Esiason wasn't that good.
No one
Ryan
else is
Sight
just
wasn't
watched
that
Boomer
good.
Esiason
And by the
play
way,
than you.
Rich Gannon,
Y'all can't
2
discount the
years
whole
before
history of
he
the
won
NFL because y'all wasn't
MVP,
born.
was first team All-Pro.
Who?
2 years before. Rich Gannon.
Was
And
Rich Gannon a great player?
He was a hell of a lot better than Brock Purdy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Really.
Stick with that. Let's see how that
Okay.
ages.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
see how that ages.
Okay,
Real talk.
that's fine.
Let's see how all that Brock Purdy disrespect ages.
Well, you were just like this with Jimmy Garoppolo.
See, the problem is now I really want Purdy to become just like the elite. I want him to dethrone Patrick Mahomes and win. And now you got me rooting for Purdy. I mean, I was never not rooting for Purdy, but now I'm like, it's like any idea, any notion that you're on the same side as Nick Wright just seems ugh. But I do. In this regard, I'm closer to Nick Wright's side than I am Brew. But again, I'm on the record, and I guess I'll have to just say this forever. Since, excuse me, since so many people come at me for being a Purdy hater, I'm on the record saying that I think Purdy is a good quarterback, and I think any of his issues right now are predominantly because he's so young and he's still learning. He's admittedly still learning and growing, and his team is so elite around him that by comparison, he's obviously the weakest link. And again, that's okay. But again, Nick Wright says that he's just garbage and trash. And I don't necessarily see that.
Just like No. Jimmy G never led the league in significant categories.
Okay. Just
All right?
Please wait.
We've reached the Rich Gannon portion of the program, which means I have to take back control of the show. It's Tuesday at about 4:09, which is the special treat that I promise. We're in for a legacy version of the iciest segment in all of sports.
Oh, well, I'm just going to do that segment later then. I'm not going to do that because this video is already 17 minutes deep. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the way I see it. I really think it should be Lamar, Mahomes, Goff, then Purdy. And to me, it's actually pretty straightforward. It's very obvious. I don't really think there's much debate for that, because the only reason why Mahomes would be at the very top is because you're basing it off of not what he's done in previous years, and that's not what we're doing. Because if that was the case, then no one could ever dethrone Mahomes, and what would be the point? But what do you all think? Do you think Purdy should be higher? Do you think he can't be any lower, but do you think he should be higher? Do you think Lamar should be higher? What do you guys all think of this Mahomes Mountain QB tier system? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and definitely please give this video a thumbs up, as it really helps with the visibility and the algorithm. And check out my next video, which I'm going to record right now, which is just going to be the second half of the segment, where it's the all-time, I guess, the Nick reveals his all-time QB mountain. So that should be fun. I'm going to post these videos at the same time. So if you're catching this channel for the first time, definitely take a look, because they'll both be posted there. Thank you so much, and see you next time.